What's up, Merc here with some huge news regarding Diablo 4 release times and dates for early access, as well as an in-depth look at the endgame. So today we got a quick video from the developers going over a bunch of endgame stuff like the Fields of Hatred, Nightmare Dungeons, bounties, and the Paragon board, and how it's all going to affect our gameplay past level 50. We start off with the devs detailing how the Paragon board is going to work once we surpass level 50, and all the ways we will be able to utilize the Paragon boards with the legendary nodes, rotating the board to go down a different path, and just how this is going to alter our build and give us more in-depth customization for our builds. Now we get a quick snapshot of one of the legendary nodes, and this legendary node was Cheap Shot, and it was 5% damage for each crowd control enemy, up to 25% more damage. Now this is a pretty beefy legendary node. We don't know what other legendary nodes look like right now, but I'm suspecting that there's going to be some strong legendary nodes to look out for, and this might alter the way we want to do our Paragon board, and I think this is also why they added the rotating the whole board into it. After we talk about the Paragon board, we get into the Codex of Power. Now the Codex of Power is going to be a big component in how we farm for our weapons and armor. Instead of farming for one specific type of gear, we can get a lower tiered gear, but if we have that Codex of Power, we can combine them and have the item that we were originally wanting. Now after the Codex of Power, we talk about the Nightmare Dungeons. Nightmare Dungeons are going to be an endgame dungeon. So after you've completed the campaign, after you pass level 50, and after you've completed your capstone dungeon, Nightmare Dungeons will unlock. Now, there's 120 dungeons at the launch of Diablo 4, and any of these dungeons can be turned into a Nightmare Dungeon. So after you've completed the capstone dungeon, you'll start collecting these things called Nightmare Sigils, and you'll take this Nightmare Sigil to one of the 120 dungeons, and you'll turn it into a Nightmare Dungeon. Now, these sigils will differently affect each dungeon. So not one dungeon will ever be the same again. You can change the affixes within the dungeon, and you can also alter the rewards that will be granted after the dungeon is completed. Speaking of Nightmare Dungeons, there will also be portals inside Nightmare Dungeons called Helltide portals. What these Helltide portals are basically going to be doing is they're going to be spewing out tons of enemies, almost like a cursed chest, but a little different. So these enemies are going to be totally random. They're not going to be generally from the dungeon that they are in, and they're also going to be a lot stronger enemy, also granting a lot better rewards. Now these Helltide areas aren't just stuck inside the Nightmare Dungeons. We will also find Helltide areas within the open world exploration. If you go into these Helltide areas in the open world, you'll be able to complete activities and kill enemies inside the Helltide area, and these enemies will drop shards. You can collect these shards to spend at shops for higher tier gear, more codexes, whatever you want that's going to be sold within the shop. We also get to talk about the endgame bounties for a second. The bounties we were talking about with the bounties with the Tree of Whispers. Now the Tree of Whispers generally doesn't like our character, but it wants us to do stuff for it. And after we complete these bounties and turn them in, we'll get caches for gear, resources, etc., etc. Now after this whole video, they really touched generally on all the endgame stuff that I think we were all having questions about, we were looking forward to seeing, and I'm very happy that they put this video out now after the beta. Everybody's wants to get that itch scratched, that Diablo itch, and I think this really made a lot of people happy because it answers a lot of questions that we had to do with Diablo 4 Endgame. So we also got a confirmation today on Twitter of the release times and release dates, and I'll put that up on the screen right now with all the different areas and whatnot so you can look it over. And something else I wanted to talk about that's a little sad is that a dev recently did an interview, and this interview was actually done April 5th, so today is the time of the recording. It was done 5 hours ago. And within this interview, the interviewee was asked if there's going to be a secret cow level at launch of Diablo 4. And saddeningly, they said that currently Blizzard has no plans for a cow level or any secret level of any kind at launch. Now, I really hope this is something they will add in the future. It's definitely something that's kind of been a staple of Diablo games since Diablo 2. So I'm really hoping they add this because I think it's something we're all looking forward to. That's it for today, and I'll catch you next time. Don't forget to leave a like and follow if you enjoyed the video.